Hi, I'm Grace, and you're listening to Bread and Honey, the money podcast where we chat to influential and inspiring people in the financial space about everything and anything related to your personal finances. Brought to you by our friends at MRBL. Today, and for every episode, we'll be joined by Patricia Gagic, who is our resident financial guru, an author and credit expert, alongside myself, to ask all those important questions to our guests on the show. In today's episode, we're joined by Patricia Gagic. So Patricia is an award-winning artist, author, entrepreneur, visionary, and a certified mindfulness practitioner. She is represented by 13th Street Gallery in St. Catharines, Art World Fine Art in Toronto, Ontario, FACEC International in France, Paul Fisher Gallery in Florida, and Gallery on the Bay in Hamilton, Ontario. Patricia has exhibited with BB International Fine Arts in Geneva, Berlin, Korea, Austria, and Zurich. So Patricia has won many achievements and awards throughout her career. So just to name a few, in 2018, Patricia won the gold medal in photography at the SNBA at the Carousel de Louvre in Paris, France. Art Tour International magazine named Patricia Artist of the Year in 2020. She is the recipient of the 2017 Excellence in the Arts for Courage and Commitment to Human Rights, Dignity and Freedom by the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. In 2019, she was awarded the Silver Medal in Photography, and in 2021, she will receive the Pulitzer Medal in Painting from the Société Académique Arts, Sciences and Letters in Paris, France, just to name a few. Patricia is an entrepreneur who founded the Curalex and MLX Property Management Group in 1987 and has an extensive background in banking, property and medical management. Patricia is a certified meditation specialist and facilitator, completing her certificate in applied mindfulness and transformative mindfulness and mindfulness without borders from the University of Toronto. Patricia is a member of the International Women's Forum in the Toronto chapter. In 2013, Patricia was knighted as Dame of the International Order of St. George, Grand Priory of Canada, Niagara Commandery. She's a past member of the Ontario Cabinet for Friends of the Canadian Museum for Human Rights. She's recognised by the Women's Executive Network as one of the top 100 most powerful women in Canada, awarded by the BMO Arts and Communications Award in 2015. Patricia has presented on the stage at Carnegie Hall, the Harvard Club, NASDAQ in New York City. Patricia was inducted into the Women's Executive Network Hall of Fame in 2018. Patricia has a lifetime of volunteering and activism and is a co-founder and chief visionary officer of Help Heal Humanity. And that's just to name a few. Patricia will show us how the power of mindfulness and manifesting has helped her achieve her goals in life and how we can use these techniques too. At the end of the episode, Patricia even talks us through a mindfulness practice that we can integrate into our daily lives. So stay tuned. So, wow. So, Patricia, you have quite a resume of achievements. I can't imagine how it feels to have such amazing achievements and recognitions already throughout your career.
Oh, thank you so much. It certainly has been an interesting life.
Definitely.
And yeah, I mean, I've wore so many different hats and, I guess, what do they say? I mean, work hard and you get rewarded in a way, right?
Yeah, and your achievements and everything you've did so far is just amazing. It shows how hard you've worked. But
she always have time for everyone. Doesn't matter what time of day or night. That's why we love her dearly.
Yeah. And both you and Patricia, Patricia Gagic and Patricia, you both know each other. How do you know each other? How did you become friends?
Actually, we met at a Women's Prosperity Network back in LA back in 2012. And we met a mutual friend, Teresa Velarde, who I met, and Teresa introduced me to Patricia, and love was born at that time. So between Teresa and Patricia, they are my sounding board. They're always there for me. So I am eternally grateful to the two best friends I have.
That's amazing.
Thank you. I concur.
Okay, so Patricia, your daily routine, I imagine, is very organized. All of the achievements you've had, it has to be. So what does your day-to-day routine look like?
Yes. So again, I think everybody has to have a certain amount of systems in place. And, I've been diligently creating and recreating my personal and business systems, which are adaptable and flexible. My day usually starts off with meditation, and usually every day it does, and a sharing of gratitude, first of all, for being alive for another day and having the blessings of my family, my friends, and the ability to share and to serve others. And, I always understood the importance of focus and clarity. So I like to think that my days are structured, well structured, and they are more aligned with getting through a daily to-do list. I'm very old-fashioned in some ways, and I love having my written day timer. And even though I have a Google Calendar as a reference, but I always, I love my, written notes there. And I always have valued time. And because of that, it makes being focused much easier. I love being flexible too. So adding time in, to make my life feel more enjoyable is really important. And being there for my friends, of course, truly is. Yeah.
So tell us what led you to do then what you do now.
So in many ways, I've really loved learning and experimenting in life. I feel very blessed to have had opportunities and taken challenges very seriously. And that has actually evolved into a greater understanding of my own life purpose. My past experiences in banking and finance were also really important. I was 25 years old when I became one of the first female bank managers for the Bank of Montreal.
Wow.
And then so I was in the old boys club there for sure. And again, becoming an entrepreneur, and then also being an artist. And it just seems to all fit together. I'm very left side, right side. And, on a personal note, though, I've also had extreme challenges, which, were somewhat significant and traumatic as well. And it was my strong commitment to the belief we have a purpose, which gave me, the stamina and the courage to continue. I was always interested in spirituality, and I found myself delving into many religions and practices. I was raised a Roman Catholic, spent time, studying the liturgy, cultivating a curiosity, always to understand everything around me that was mystical and esoteric. So I think that having a little bit of that background was also a real synergy for me to get into my creative journey in art. And, that was a great privilege to start studying, the old masters and a lot of abstract contemporary work. And then through synchronicity, I met fabulous teachers who took me on journeys through studying different aspects of physics, the Kabbalah, Hinduism, Buddhism. And, with these teachings, I think I began to understand that life was more about my choices, the karma, and all was relative to the golden rule. And, with this understanding, I really delved into studying the foundation for the preservation of the Mahayana tradition in Buddhism, and also the Hanmi Esoteric Mystery School and various tantric studies, which, as you shared earlier, eventually I decided to further my mind studies, and I went to the University of Toronto when the opportunity was there for us to do a 3-year program on applied mindfulness and transformative mindfulness at the University of Toronto. So I completed both of those programs together. And I think that ultimately revealed my painting experiences and curiosities were efficiently sharing my values and distinct enough that I decided to create a program which I am calling the Karmic Art Experience. And, you know, the one ingredient people need is to create a better attitude and a willingness to let go of all their anxiety and low self-esteem and trust they can manifest change. And I think I've done it for myself.
Wow, yeah. That's amazing. That's all I can say. That's just amazing. And then just to touch back on your earlier days then in banking and shifting to become an entrepreneur. So share with us a little bit more about that and how you may have did that.
So yeah, growing up, I always had an appreciation for entertainment. When I was 13, I became the president of the CYO, the Catholic Youth Organization at our church. And I was devoted to creating life experiences for the members. And there were about 60 of them between the ages of 13 and 18. And in time, I realized, I was an entrepreneur, and these life skills were supporting my vision of wanting to become both an artist and a banker. I also had a difficult heartbreak when I was, 18, which dictated the choices I made in the future. After high school, I needed to put my life together emotionally, and I did this by digging my heels into the banking world. I started as a teller, and I worked my way up the ranks. One should remember this was all happening in the early 70s as well. So women were fighting for their rights, as feminists and taking on positions, which were predominantly filled by men. And it's really true. I really truly was said this was said to me, Patricia, as a woman, you're taking food out of the mouths of children by taking this management position.
Oh my God. It just shows
no, seriously.
The times.
Yeah,
Jeez.
That's, what was said. I mean, and I remember sitting actually in the lunchroom at one of the branches, and a couple of the account managers who were men were sitting there talking, and it was like daggers at me because, how did I think I should fit into, this position? And, and I heard it. It was very sad. So I lived with a great deal of guilt for several years. I mean, they put that on you. However, it was having my positive influences from, some of the male mentors who gave me the courage and support to become, a visionary and break through the glass ceiling. My husband then was also in the financial industry, and he encouraged me to see beyond and to focus on my goals. My father was also my hero, and he had provided for us, and he was very generous with his time. He put his own brother through university to become a CA. My father was a CGA. And then another really important person was my actual boss at the time, Bruce Berry. And he rallied behind me and recommended me to become a branch manager of the bank. And I was 25 years old when I became one of the youngest female, bank managers in the Manitoba, Saskatchewan division. I eventually started my own property management business, which I actually called it Kiralex after my daughter. Her name is Kira Alexandra. So that's how that name came about.
Lovely.
Yeah. And then I got really crazy and I bought an old building in St. Catharines. I renovated it and turned it into a retirement home, which I then sold. And then I worked with my husband to build another 45,000 square foot medical facility, which I managed along with other properties with condominiums and apartment buildings and whatnot. So I love thinking that, women are warriors. And, I'm just remembering Gloria Steinem when she said, we are here and around the world for a deep democracy that says we will not be quiet. We will not be controlled. We will work for a world in which all countries are connected. God may be in the details, but the goddess is in the connections. We are linked, not ranked. So kind of was like a great saying from a woman who really has held, the forum for women for a long time. So
Then just to go back to meditations, many people these days are becoming a lot more interested in, because it is really a useful tool for us to know how to meditate in, times in our life where things might get a little bit overwhelming and stressful. So I suppose share with us your interest in meditation and how your spiritual roadmap created a transformation in your life.
Yes, again, going back to our fathers. Well, my father, he was a very pious man. Unfortunately, he had a very rough start coming from Europe in his, family when they immigrated into Canada. It was very, very difficult for them. But he and my grandparents were very deeply devoted to God and instilled a very positive approach toward prayer. So it was quite simple. You learned the prayers through catechism classes. I went to church weekly and we prayed nightly with the rosary. That was our family thing. And what they offered was a way to have a conversation with God. Again, now I'm absolutely referencing God here. My thinking back to my childhood, many revelations have been revealed. Prayer became a way of releasing my frustrations and anger. I would share my thoughts with God, knowing He would help me figure things out. There were many secrets which I shared with a trust that they would be listened to, but only after those who were in greater need were looked after first. I truly believe this kind of anchored my sincere desire to evolve my spiritual life, this roadmap, and my interest in all things about the mind. In the early 70s, finding your guru was part of the wave, the Maharishi, all things from music to the harmonic convergence. And learning to concentrate was the greatest gift that I think one could find for oneself. And for me, prayer, I think, was the basis, because you quiet your mind. You would go to a place, either in your bedroom or at church, and you would sit in a way that gave you the opportunity to honestly still the mind. And for me, as time went on, it took the form of yoga and meditation. So I kind of embraced everything quite fully. And I really think when you commit to making the time, it becomes habitual. And then the joy you receive from being in a state of calmness, it gives you that clarity. And with the clarity, one receives a better way of communicating. So this understanding allows for the mind to seek better resolve and not react with the fight or flight, but rather with more reason and logic. So after many years of meditating, the laws of karma begin to make sense. So eliminating the suffering, the cessation of suffering becomes easier as the attachment to the material world, begins to dissolve. I was very fortunate to meet a lot of enlightened beings along my journey. I've learned and developed great respect for the masters, and this is why and how, I think we can become better human citizens, to own the creation of the world I want, and as an occupation.
Yeah, the interest in manifestation and meditation and spirituality, it's increasing around the world. So we see the rise of meditation and yoga practice. It's now, it's easy to access online. We phone apps like Headspace and Calm, where they, show you ideas of meditation. And then I think recently Netflix did a series where they introduced the app Headspace in and just gave you tips on how to start meditation. So why do you think then the interest in, meditation, manifestation and spirituality has increased? And then just tell us a little bit more then about your experiences with that then too.
I again, wanting to sort of achieve something that goes beyond just everyday life. So for example, and I'll just sort of get into, manifesting to achieve even your money goals, right? So there's such a deep interest in the manifestation of things by using meditation and spirituality. The cycle of life is important to bring us to a place of control, to understand our values and what purpose they will serve. And many of us, of course, are familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the theory by Abraham Maslow, which puts forward that people are motivated by 5 basic categories of needs, like physiological, safety, love, esteem, and self-actualization. And according to him, with these, needs, as we move through our lives, we make choices, based on these needs. And the expansion of this, and again, depending on how we value and what we value, can bring us to the causes. And we make decisions to serve the ultimate satisfaction of our needs. Unfortunately, if we do not have a spiritual concept or a roadmap, we will not have a basic understanding or platform to realize that we have, we can make good and bad choices, and we have options. So if we choose wrongly, we actually suffer, and others suffer by association, and our sort of world of greed can append all things we have originally strived for. So even if you are a non-believer in God or a deity or a religion, there is still the human factor, which is all-encompassing. And we should consider ourselves, I think, to be, recognizing that we are divine beings. So studying mindfulness as a practice, it does involve a shift in awareness. And, mindfulness is an awareness cultivated by paying attention in a sustained and particular way, intentionally, on purpose, in the present moment, without judgment. That's a tall order, I know, for a lot of people. But if you talk about making, some of your investment decisions, but if one takes control and you recognize, you weigh the risks, you make better decisions. And I like to think that business professionals will see the challenges within their control. And it's when we exercise mindfulness that we see fairness to be part of the equation. And in fairness, in equanimity, we see all people winning. Like they say, there's enough for everyone to go around, right? So if we are the purchaser, we like to make sure we are being offered the best deal. And deep in our minds and hearts, we also think the seller is reasonable and has good intentions and is in the relationship of an outcome with us. However, as the world has shown, not all people use fairness in their negotiations. And if we consider becoming mindful in our business, we open the door for equanimity and higher returns. But manifestation is really going to take a little bit of time for people to cultivate, because you have to have things in order in your life, and you have to make a commitment to the realization. I'm just going to mention Dr. Joe Dispenza. If any of your listeners haven't heard of him, to check him out. There's a lot of excellent writing and work that he does on manifestation, rewiring your thoughts, changing the way that you feel about things. We can do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then what power can manifestation bring to help someone then achieve their goals? Say, for example, financial goals or, savings goals?
Well, first of all, I always appreciate the positive outcomes based on being mindful, but it's up to the individual to set the goals to begin with. I mean, you do have to have a plan. If you have no structure and you're just mindlessly, going about figuring out things, you're basically gambling your power, and the risks will become much higher with a greater potential for loss. So I like to think we become higher performance individuals when we can cultivate and stabilize our minds. This, of course, does not remove all the obstacles, but we do not fully understand the nature of reality. However, it does provide the cutting of the root of affliction. So the benefits associated with meditation are bountiful. We create sharper minds, which can create benefits, less suffering, by making better choices. And we think about using our wisdom instead of ignorance. So manifestation actually can, by using the tools to be able to achieve things, that actually will definitely help people.
Okay. And then, of course, you've achieved so many things then in your own life. What are some goal setting techniques then that you use yourself?
So, of course, we were just talking about meditation. So, when you start meditating, you begin to feel the calmness. You can feel lighter, less stressed. That's one. I like to reprioritize my life in order to increase my effectiveness, which means that, you can have a plan, very different than having a goal. But in order for it to be executed, there has to be that flexibility. I also think that people really need to make healthier choices, physically for sure, emotionally for sure. And the big one that I think is so wonderful is to visualize yourself as a winner. See yourself winning. Hold the trophy. Visualize with the potential, unlocking that human potential to realize like you are a divine human being. And, if you want to start manifesting your goals, you have to see yourself as a winner. I think it also, it's super important to take time to create positivity. And, if what words are going to come out of your mouth are negative, then don't say them. Learn how to completely be in control of what you say. It's so important because it can return you to a state of enthusiasm. That's another big one. A lot of people, I think, like to think that they're enthusiastic about it, but they're not happy. They're not in a state of bliss. Find your bliss, follow your bliss, make that, important, like Joseph Campbell. So if there is a way for you to feel more connected to yourself, and through meditation, that will happen. Being mindful, it will happen. You can be in a state of joy. And when you start making decisions with that clarity, with a joyful state of existence, rather than feeling the attachment to, oh, me, poor me, the pity party, I think it will make a difference in your life. I think treating yourself and others more lovingly, oh my goodness, self-care. How often do we ignore ourselves? I mean, really and truly, from, pampering yourself a little bit or just taking a time out and not listening to the monkey chatter in your brain gives you a really good sense of relief. And I know there's people out there who, at the end of the day, maybe they take a nice walk, or they sit and have a glass of wine, put the fireplace on. Treating yourself, just be more lovingly to yourself. And then I think you establish a long-lasting empowerment where you feel that the decisions that you've been making are better. And when you feel empowered, you have confidence. And in that moment of confidence, you again are executing energies that will spur into something more positive. And then I think people have to become playful. just discover how important it is to be playful, to have fun, to have a sense of humor. I believe everybody has a place inside of them where something can make them smile. I always say the prettiest thing a person can wear is the smile on their face. And I guess the last thing I would think of is just an experience, an imperturbable sense of peace, where you actually can feel that you have come to a place where you have enjoyed, and you do enjoy getting up in the morning. It might alter the choices that you make, but I really think that it's important. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. And, it's so important for us to, show ourselves some self-care and give ourselves the time out, because sometimes we can just get so busy and just forget to, our minds can get so busy and we can just forget to give ourselves a moment. And I suppose that's where the meditation and mindfulness come into play then as well. And yeah, I suppose then when it comes to money worries, how do you feel mindfulness and meditation can help someone then who is stressed in particular about money or all of their financials in general?
Well, again, I think just remembering that you've got to put some goals in and do some goal setting so that you created a strategic plan for yourself. And if you find someone who you can trust or someone who is associated with you, take the time, make the effort, and review your plans so that you can, in fact, move forward with it. Stress is always going to haunt us when we're not making the best use of our skills, or we don't have a plan, or we've, deviated from the plan. Even if you find it difficult to start a meditation practice, it is super useful to learn simple breathing techniques that can support your desire to, relinquish the stress. Mindfulness meditations are based on focus, breathing, and becoming calm. I think learning to detach from everyday existence can create an ability for people to balance their lives with more purpose. Yeah.
And then let's talk about affirmations. So what are they, and what are some examples of how we can create our own daily affirmations?
Daily affirmations for me, they're part of the meditation experience. So to begin my day, before I leave the bed, I start by sitting on the edge of the bed without touching my feet to the ground, and I begin with gratitude for waking up. I begin with gratitude for the air, gratitude for the elements. Of course, having a bath or a shower you can begin by taking care of yourself, by being grateful for the water, being grateful for, the opportunity to have a life. And then I like to create a positive climate for the day. And that's how I do it. These affirmations and intentions sort of create a rewiring of my thoughts, and they anchor me so that the thoughts become things and the things become real.
Let's talk about value and intention. So how does this help with your manifestation practice?
Well, values are really important. Life is more important than doctrine. So for myself personally, I have 3 values: mystery, humanity, and karma. Those are the things that I feel strongly about. I like to shift from entitlement to responsibility, from equal to equalization, and I learn in the shifting. So I'm actually engaged in creative capitalism. It's sort of like concrete gifting. So when you have values and intention, then you will begin to manifest because you know what you're looking for. You can step outside of the box, so to speak, and feel comfortable about it, being comfortable in your own skin, your own choices.
Amazing. And then how has I know we've talked a lot about manifestation, but how has it helped you then to achieve everything you have in your life?
Well, I've always believed, and I want to live with the understanding that we are all interconnected. I really do believe in collective consciousness because of energy. I believe in the stillness of the heart and mind, that it's constantly encouraging benevolence and kind of finally waking up our species to our own true nature and desires with loving options. Philanthropy in the future is a new creation for me. It is the highest form of divinity, which we need to experience consciously, not unconsciously. It's like, let's use this internal GPS to guide us with the highest of intention to produce the richest outcomes, and stepping out of history and step into the path of now. So when I look at my life as, everything that's sort of transpired, I always come back to karma. So what you put out comes back, I think, and crazy line I like is karma doesn't lose your address. Mm-hmm. The practice of generosity for me refers to the act of giving, whether it's food or money, time, kindness. And on the other hand, refers to the inward disposition that gives rise to the action. So generosity allows us to dwell at home with a mind that's sort of devoid of the stain of miserliness. We become freely generous and I think open-handed. So in the end, it's not so important who gives and who receives. I think what matters is what takes us beyond our separation and into an awareness where all is given and received. It's that reciprocity, a dance between, forward and backward. It reminds us to look beyond roles to relationship. And when we give without differentiating self from other, and when we receive without differentiating it from the giving, I think that's where we can find the gift everywhere. So I don't know. I hope you'll look forward towards finding, your greatness within, and remember, we can access crisis. It allows us to see something hidden inside ourselves better. So the window is only open for a short time, but I think we have to give ourselves permission to be vulnerable and kind. And most important, I think we have to have a willingness to change. Yeah.
Amazing. And then lastly, so do you feel positivity and manifestation, they come hand in hand?
Yes, I think the revelations that we seek are really delicate on how really our mind is a paradise of possibilities. Life is not a drive-by experience. I think we are incalculably unique. And I love stretching my mind, and I play to the edge of my limits. And I think we can create happy accidents with divine discontent. That's it.
Amazing. And yeah, so geez, I feel like I've learned an awful lot there. It's amazing the real power of mindfulness and manifesting and how, it is obviously, if it feels really hard to get started, but once you do get started, it will all come to you then from there, and it will just get easier and easier the more you practice. Like anything, I suppose, practice makes perfect in a sense. The more you do it, the easier it will come to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I think if we have the time, would you like me to do a very short meditation mindfulness practice, maybe?
Yeah,
Love it.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Patricia is going to talk us through a mindfulness practice. You don't have to do anything at all here. Just sit back, relax, listen, and enjoy.
I think if you're sitting, I'm in a chair, that it's perfectly fine to meditate in a chair. I know people are oftentimes saying, well, you should sit on a cushion on the floor. I have a cushion under my feet. And the reason I have it there is so my knees are about the same height as my hips. And that for me takes the pressure off my back. So if you have the opportunity here to find a cushion or you're sitting in a chair, just make sure that you notice your pelvis and that your pelvis is somewhat level. If it's tucked too much, we're going to slump. And the physical body, the position of sitting in for a meditation is really important because we're going to be doing some breathing and we want to level off the pelvis. That's a really good start. And the feet on the ground are really important. We have a sense that our legs and our feet are very grounded and connected to the earth, allowing our torso to rise up out of our pelvis. While I'm in a chair and the chair is supporting me, there's a sense that my body is supporting itself as well. So being grounded to the lower body and uplifted torso. So you might lengthen the back of your neck and draw it back just slightly. Check and see where your shoulder blades are. Sometimes they're way up here, and just see if we can release them down the back to soften. And then soften your face. Check in on the belly and see that it's soft so that you can breathe and flow easily. You might want to dangle your arms at the side. And if your chair has arms, just doing the best you can and allow the upper arms to stay where they are, or place your hands on your leg, resting up on your top of your thigh. And then keeping your eyes either open and your head upright, just lower your gaze. You're not lowering your head, you're just lowering the gaze. And the gaze might be to 6 or 8 feet in front of you. Now, if you're in your chair, or if you want that further in, that's fine. And you can also just tilt your eyelids down and just, look below. But just as you let the hands rest on the thighs, just find a resting place for your eyes. It's as though whatever you're seeing, whether it's the floor or the carpet or something else, whatever you're seeing is coming up to meet the eyes, instead of the eyes reaching out to see. So there's a sense of receiving. This is mindfulness of body, the first step of taking a seat in a very ordinary way, feeling yourself grounded in the lower body and uplifted in the upper body. The hands are resting on your thighs, the gaze downcast and soft. This is mindfulness of the body. Now, just place the awareness that we've moved through the body on the feet and the legs and the hands and the torso, and just let it rest now on our breath. Just feel your breath, letting, again, this be very simple, just the act of breathing. We're not trying to change the way we breathe or visualize our breath or count our breath. For this exercise, we're just going to breathe. The only difference is we're just noticing. That's all. We're feeling that. We're just noticing our breath. It might be helpful in this moment for you to notice where you are feeling the breath most. There's no right or wrong way to feel the breath, but maybe you're noticing it most perhaps at your belly. As you breathe in, how your belly expands, and as you breathe out, how the belly releases. And maybe for you, the breath is most vivid in the area of the chest, with the subtle movements. Maybe you're noticing your breath most at your nostrils, with the coolness and the warmth. Or maybe for you, you're noticing the breath somewhere else. And maybe there's just an overall knowing of the breath. So simply sitting here and attending to your breath just as it is, this is mindfulness of breath. If it hasn't happened already, it certainly will. We're sitting here and attending to the breath, and then suddenly we're not. We've been carried away into thought stream. This is not an indication of doing anything wrong. We're human beings, we think. Sometimes when we're sitting, attending to the breath, we notice that we've carried our thoughts into a thought stream. This might be rehearsing something for the future or reviewing something, fantasizing. It might be something that's pleasant that we are experiencing as pleasant. Well, it could also be unpleasant or neutral. When we realize that we're carried away in our thought stream, the good news is that we're actually already back. There's a sense of, oh, and if it helps to label it as thinking, oh, thinking. And you can just do that for yourself and then just let it go. And then return back to the awareness of your breath. And again, with as much gentleness as we can, as you return to the awareness of the breath, you might just check in on your body again and notice if you're still grounded and uplifted. If the breath is still flowing freely, if the gaze is still soft, the shoulders are still down the back, and simply the return, the sitting here in a very simple way, attending to the breath. This is mindfulness of mind. This noticing when we're carried away and allowing that noticing to be a cue, simply to return to sitting here, to breathe. We can sit quietly here for a few seconds and just practice our breath. Just breathe. As the practice comes to a close, maybe take a moment and acknowledge that you've simply taken this time for yourself, the time of befriending your body as it is, befriending your mind, strengthening the steadfastness to show up for yourself and to be with yourself in a very simple but very important way. So as we are going to end this practice, we're going to raise our gaze, maybe a more intentional breath in, releasing and closing our practice. So, ladies, that was a very fast way of doing a mindfulness of breath and mind. Again, if we were sitting in a room together or we had the opportunity, we would do that over probably about 60 minutes, 45 to 60 minutes, taking the time. And I would walk you through, a different way of recognizing the breath. But again, that comes with practice. So I hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah, no, that was lovely. Yeah, that was nice and relaxed. And for the, it's the few minutes even, it was unreal. That was very good. Thank you.
It is beautiful, Patricia. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I feel like our listeners will, they'll be able to, take those couple of steps and hopefully, keep practicing themselves and then, lengthen their practices and then, hopefully learn to meditate and manifest their dreams and their goals alongside it then as well. Okay, so that's everything then for today's episode of Bread and Honey. Patricia, if anyone wants to get in touch with yourself, how would they do that? What is your website?
My website is my name, so it's patriciakarengagic.com. And if someone wanted to email me directly, it's patgagic@gmail.com. And I'm on Facebook. I'm pretty easy to find. Absolutely.
Amazing. That sounds good. Okay. Well, thanks for joining us on today's show. It's been it's a really good show. I'm very excited.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. We hope you enjoyed episode 4 of Bread and Honey. If there's any topic you'd like to see covered on our next episode, connect with us now on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram by simply searching Marble Financial or by using our handle MyMRBLF. You can also follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to make sure you don't miss out on our next episode. And don't forget, if you're still searching for ways to improve your financial fitness, you can sign up for My Marble today at mymarble.ca. Thanks for listening.